Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmad Salli ala Rasulil Kareem. Remember, we were discussing the verse of Balaam bin Ba'ura, that person from the Bani Israel, for the love of wealth, for the love of fame. He sold away his deen, like how we say, he sold his soul to the devil, and he made dua against Musa alayhi salam, and then he even gave the Jabbarin an idea how to vanquish, how to conquer the Bani Israel using the women folk. So Allah Ta'ala says, فَمَثَلُهُ كَمَثَلِ الْكَلْبِ إِن تَحْمِلْ عَلَيْهِ يَلْهَثْ أَوْ تَتْرُكْهُ يَلْهَثْ. Then his likeness, his example, is an example of a dog. If you attack it, it will pants, or you leave it, it will still pants. In other words, this also his tongue was hanging out from his chest. So اختلف المفسرون في معناه. The Mufassirin, they differ exactly what does this mean. فعلى سياق بن إسحاق عن سالم عن أبي نصر أن بلم اندلأ لسانه على صدره. His tongue was hanging on his chest. فتشبيه بالكلب في لهيثه في كلتا حالتين. So like how the dog, when he's at rest, also you see sometimes he's resting in the shade, the tongue is out and he's panting, right? In zujira wa in turika zahirun, right? So whether he's being reproached, he's being reprimanded, or he's left, right? The zahir, right? وقيل معناه فصار مثله في ضلاله واستمراره فيه وعدم انتفائه بالدعاء إلى الإيمان وعدم الدعاء كالكلب في لهيثه في حالتيه. Right? إن حملت عليه وإن تركته ويلحث في الحالين. Then the other, let me translate first. So it is said the meaning is his example is like that of a dog في ضلال, in his misguidance, واستمرار فيه, and him continuing in it, وعدم انتفاع, and him not benefiting بالدعاء إلى الإيمان, by being called to Iman, right? وعدم الدعاء. So the second explanation is this here, that like like how the dog, whether under pressure he's painting, or if he's not under pressure he's still painting. So this Balaam in Ba'ur, whether you call him towards good or whether you don't call him towards good, either way he is still in dalalat. When he was proceeding with his donkey and the angels were even stopping the donkey, he was being guided here by Allah Ta'ala. But despite that, he prodded his donkey and he carried on. So understood. So like how the dog pants in both conditions, whether under pressure or not under pressure, same thing. Bal'am bin Ba'ura, whether he is advised or is not advised, it does not make a difference. You understood? So see there. فَكَذَلِكَ هَذَا لَا يَنْتَفِعُ بِالْمَوْعِظَةِ وَالدَّعْوَةِ. Like that, Balaam bin Ba'ura, he does not benefit with advice, and neither does he also benefit with being called إلى الإيمان ولا عدمه. And if you don't call him, right? كما قال تعالى, like Allah says in the Quran, سواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. You know, these people, their hearts are sealed, right? So it's no difference whether you warn them or you don't warn them, they will not believe. استغفر لهم أو لا تستغفر لهم. Seek forgiveness for them or don't seek forgiveness. وقيل, it said, معنى أن قلب الكافر والمنافق والضال ضعيف فارغ من الهدى فهو كثير الوجوب فعبر عن هذا بهذا. Let's see. The non, there's a hadith that mentions that every time a person does a wrong thing, commits a sin, then a black spot comes on the heart, then he commits another sin, and another black spot comes on the heart. Till eventually his heart is engulfed in darkness, his heart is sealed. سواء عليهم أنذرتهم. So he said, أن قلب الكافر والمنافق, the heart of a kafir, munafiq, والضالي, and a ضعيف, is weak, فارغ, right? It is empty, min al-huda, devoid, bereft, denuded from any type of goodness. فَهُوَ كَثِيرُ الْوُجُوبِ. So he is كثير الوجوب. This is إضافة to التخصيص. There are many obligations upon him. فَأُبِرَ عَنْ هَذَا. So this is explained in this word, إِن تَحْمِلْهُ تَلْهَثْ أَوْ تَتْرُكُ يَلْحَثْ. His heart is so weak, all the obligations that come upon him, he's unable to respond to it, right? Carry on reading. يا فاقصص القصص لعلهم يتفكرون. يقول تعالى لنبي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم, Allah Ta'ala says to Nabi Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم, فاقصص القصص, now narrate the story to the people, right? لعلهم يتفكرون. لعل بني إسرائيل العالمين, right, لعل بني إسرائيل العالمين بحال بلعم. So perhaps the Bani Israel will come to know the condition of Balaam, right? Yeah. وَمَا جَرَى لَهُ فِي إِذْلَالِ اللَّهِ إِيَّاهُ, and what transpired with him when Allah Ta'ala misguided him. وَإِبْعَادِهِ مِنْ رَحْمَتِهِ, and Allah Ta'ala made him distant from his mercy, right? Yeah. Why? Because there's a reason. بسبب أنه استعمل نعمة الله عليه في تعليم الاسم الأعظم الذي إذا سئل بأعطي وإذا دعي أجاب في غير طاعة ربه. Why? Because he used the great gift of knowing the Ism al-Azam, that one which when you make dua you definitely be asked. Where he used it, he abused it. في غير طاعة ربه, in besides the of the obedience of Allah Ta'ala. He used it in the disobedience. See there? وما بسبب, because أنه استعمل, he used نعمة الله عليه, the favor of Allah upon him, في, and what was it favor? في تعليمه الاسم العظم, in Allah Ta'ala informed me of the ism الذي, that one which إذا سئل به أعطي, when you ask, it is asking it, it is granted to you. وإذا دعي به أجاب, when it is called out with that name you answer that. What he done? في غير طاعة ربه, he used. So O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, speak to the people and give them the lesson of that person who used the favor of Allah Ta'ala besides the obedience of Allah Ta'ala. This was his end result. So if you use the favor of Allah Ta'ala and besides the obedience of Allah Ta'ala, then you are liable for something similar to this. Carry on. Right. بل دعا به على حزب الرحمن. He used the Ism al-Azam to make dua against the group of Allah Ta'ala, right? وشعب الإيمان, right? Carry on. Right? And who done it? أتباع عبده ورسوله. The followers, he used it against who? The followers of his servant of Allah Ta'ala served, ورسوله, and the Rasul of Allah Ta'ala في ذلك الزمان, in that time. And who was he? كليم الله موسى عليه السلام, موسى بن عمران عليه السلام, right? Carry on. Yeah, that's why Allah Ta'ala says, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. So give this lesson to the Bani Israel, the Jews of Makkah that did want to accept. Let them look at the story of Balaam bin Ba'ura, how he abused the favor of Allah Ta'ala. Instead of using it in the obedience of Allah Ta'ala, he used it in the disobedience. So narrate the story to them so that they do not fall in the same mistake, right? أي فيحذروا أن يكونوا مثله, or فيحذروا حذرا. So they must be careful. فيحذروا أن يكونوا مثله, they will be like him, right? Yeah. فإن الله تعالى أعطاهم علما, Allah Ta'ala had given him knowledge. Remember the Arabs, they were so to say people, they educated people. The Jews, they were educated. They had a book, etc. So they were more educated. They were more in the know-how as a Arabs. And actually, the likelihood of them accepting Islam was greater because it was in their books. It was written in the books, right? Was it verse with الذين يتبعون الرسول النبي الأمي الذي يجدونه مكتوبا عندهم في التوراة والإنجيل والقرآن. We've done it verse. So they had فإن الله قد أعطاهم علما وميزهم على من عداه من الأعراب. And Allah Ta'ala distinguished them from those who were beside him, the Arab, right? Yeah. وجعل بأيديهم Allah Ta'ala presented in front of them Sifata Muhammadin Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the description of Muhammad, Ya'rifuna kama ya'rifuna abna'ahum, and they would recognize it like how they recognize their own. Yeah. فهم أحق الناس وأولاهم باتباعه. So they were more worthy to follow the Prophet, right? ومناصرته, and to help him carry on. And وموازرته, وازر يوازر, to be his vicegerents, right? Yeah. كما أخبر, like how all the Anbiya كما informed them بذلك وأمرتهم به, right? So what you learn from this here, that the more knowledgeable you are, right, the more you know the truth. And then to turn away from it only increases the crime in severity. It only increases the crime in gravity, right? Because they knew it, they were educated, they saw the description, etc. Carry on. Right. That is why ولهذا من خالف منهم ما في كتابه, who from amongst them he contradicts ما في, what is in his book, ما في كتابه وكتمه, and he conceals it. So like they conceal the description of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, فلم يعلم به and فلم يعلم به العباد, and he does not inform the people. So this was the old treachery of the Jews. They concealed many things in the Kitab, right? فَلَمْ يُعْلِمْ بِهِ الْإِبَادَةِ أَحَلَّ اللَّهُ بِهِ ظُلًّا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَوْصُولًا بِظُلٍّ فِي الْآخِرَةِ. Allah Ta'ala will descend upon him, yani the person who is guilty of knowing the truth, recognizing the truth, knowing what is the haqq, but he does not expound upon it, right? Allah Ta'ala, ظُلًّا فِي الدُّنْيا, disgrace in the dunya, مَوْصُولًا بِظُلِّ الْآخِرَةِ, coupled with disgrace in the akhirat. So you see, the greater the position, the greater the standing, the greater the severity of the crime. You understood? Carry on. Yeah. ساء مثل القوم الذين كذبوا. How bad is the example of the people الذين كذبوا بآياتنا? They had the signs, they saw the signs, they denied it, right? So Allah Ta'ala says, Sa'a mathalan. How bad is the example? الذين كذبوا بآياتنا, who denies our signs. أي ساء مثلهم. How evil is, right? شبهوا بالكلاب. So those people who, despite having the knowledge, like the ulama, they are Master, what are you doing? شبهوا بالكلاب لا همة لها. They are likened to dogs التي لا همة لها, that has no firmness لها إلا في تحصيل أكلة أو شهوة, who is only busy in the acquisition of eating and fulfilling these desires. So what is this saying? This is an interesting thing here. Like a dog, undisciplined dog, only wants to eat and copulate, doesn't want to be disciplined, doesn't want to practice on what the master taught it. So that is the likeness of a alim. Allah Ta'ala protect us. The alim, alima, muallim, muallima, that are steeped in fulfilling their desires, giving preference to the dunya over the akhirat, is like an ill-disciplined dog, is only in pursuit of fulfilling its base desires. So those persons that are only, they're entangled, enmeshed in fulfilling their base desires, they are being likened to a dog. Allah Ta'ala protect us, right? Right? في تحصيل أكلة أو شهوة, فمن خرج عن حيز العلم والهدى وأقبل على شهوة نفسه. So whoever comes out and حيز, from the ambit, the sphere of knowledge, والهدى, and guidance, right? والهدى وأقبل على شهوة نفسه, and he proceeds to the fulfilling of desires. واتبع هواه, and he follows his desires, right? صار شبيها بالكلب, he becomes the likeness of a dog. وَبِئْسَ الْمَثَلُ مَثَلُهُ, and how terrible is his example, right? وَلِذَا ثَبَتَ فِي الصَّحِيحِ, supporting this also the same thing, that a person who becomes a slave of his desires, he does not allow his intelligence, he does not allow his aql to control him. To that end, it means أَنَّ رَسُولٌ لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَثَلُ السُّوءِ العائد في هبتي كالكلب يعود في قيئه. That ليس منا مثل سوء. We do not have a bad example. We supposed to be a good example. العائد في هبتي كالكلب يعود في قيئه. The person who takes back his gift is like a person who laps up his vomit. What a despicable act it is, right? وقوله, so in other words, that shows you the person that involved in base desires is like the person like a dog. Then Allah says, وَأَنفُسَهُمْ كَانُوا يَظْلِمُونَ, أي مَا ظَلَمَهُمُ اللَّهِ, they did not oppress Allah Ta'ala, right? ولا, right? But وَلَكِنَّهُمْ ظَالِمُونَ أَنفُسَهُم, but they're not harming themselves by following their desires and by them abandoning the teachings, the celestial divine light that Allah Ta'ala had blessed them with. They're not harming Allah Ta'ala in the least, but right, walakin hum ظلموا أنفسهم, they're oppressing themselves بإعراضهم عن اتباع الهدى, by them turning away from following the guidance, وطاعة المولى, and the obedience of the Mawla, إلى الركون إلى دار البلاء, by inclining ركن يركن الركون, to incline to دار البلاء, the place of test, right? والإقبال على تحصيل اللذات, and proceeding and turning towards تحصيل اللذات, the acquisition of uh, the nice things of this world, right? وموافقة الهوى, and going according to the desires. Okay, there was a lengthy hadith, but basically in simple words, what they're saying in the Awla hadith, sorry, it was a lengthy explanation to the verse, that Allah Ta'ala likens the person who prefers, he gives preference to his desires over the akhirah. بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى. To a dog, a ill-disciplined dog that only follow his desires. But a person, no matter how much his intelligence, how smart he is, but if he cannot control his desires, then his likeness is the likeness of a dog. And obviously, here also there is a great lesson for the ulama, that you know what is the truth, you know what is the right, you know what is the haqq. You shouldn't be influenced by things of the dunya. People will ply you with gifts, they will invite you, buy you a car, this, that. You have to remain firm. You have to ظاهرين على الحق. Allah Ta'ala give us tawfiq. We will continue tomorrow, inshallah. That's subhanallah. So tomorrow is only tafsir, inshallah, from 9:30 to 10 o'clock.